ago, I think. Well, congratulations for being here. Thank you, and thank you for the Burns Night 2025, and all the people who have worked so hard to put this together. I did want to remind everybody that the Higle dancing and the Celtic Jam are going to happen at the end of the program again, and you'll actually learn some of the Higle dancing. We'll be teaching some Scottish rounds, and you'll all get home so much more educated than when you came. I would like to call attention to Jeff Mosher and his wife Sarah, who are here from the Michigan Business Network, and they're in the back of the room, and they are videoing the entire evening. And so you'll be able to recapture that. So that is not only a thank you to the Michigan Business Network, but it's also a warning. So there's a couple things you got to remember, gents. If you scratch in appropriately, you won't be on the 6 o'clock, but you'll be there for all your friends to recall when they visit the website. And remember to keep your knees close together. This is kilt night, all right? We don't want to send anybody home early. And for all you women out there, please mind after your men. Thank you. Appreciate that. So with that, we're going to have a lot of entertainment for you tonight. We'll hear from the Glen Erin Pipe Band. We'll have the Highland dancers here. As I said, you'll have some instruction, and you'll also get Celtic Jam a little later in the evening. So with that, if we are ready. All right, so we got about 2 more minutes. These guys are making sure the cleats are in the back. How many of you are here for the first time tonight? Raise your hands. Oh, that is great. No kidding. Let's welcome everybody. How many of you are here for the 5th time? 5th time, 6th time, 7th time, 10 times and over. Oh, wow. Talk about keeping your customers. That's awesome. How many of you have been here 50 years? Because we've been having this 50 plus years. Believe it or not. How about a round of applause for that? All right, so it seems to me we are ready, and please welcome the Glen Erin Pipe Band.
March and drums! 4-4! By the center! Quick march!
Welcome under the direction of Mr. Bill Collins and drum sergeant of Kellogg, Glen Erin Pipe Band. of the Regiment of Royal Engineers, entitled Wings and the Rowan Tree. Next, the band will perform a set of dancing tunes, Molly Connell and Bill Sullivan's Reel. So if you do not or are not able to hear the band, this is the time to raise your... Okay, we're okay on that? All right, good. I don't know... I don't know if you know the tradition of how bagpipes began. But it was to have an instrument that, as you're coming over the hill to face your enemy, would intimidate them. So you can see that in the early days, that it filled that void, certainly. And what we have come to enjoy is the mellow tunes. And these folks in front of you are the very best at that. Now, if we are ready, ladies and gentlemen, we present the ancient and traditional ceremony of the Haggis. We now welcome storyteller, singer, piper, John Downing to read Burns' Ode to a Haggis.
I will strive to honor those who came before me at this event in the address to Haggis. According to my Burns Bible acquired in Ayr, Scotland in 2013, Burns spontaneously created the last chorus of his address at a Mauchline dinner. Later in Edinburgh, he completed the rest of the address. fair father on a sonsy face, great chieftain of the puddin' race. Aboon them all you take your place, paint type of fair wheel are you worthy your grace, as long as my arm. The groaning trencher there you feel, your hurry is like a distant hill. Your pen would help to mend the mill in time of need, while through your pour the dews distill like amber bead. His knife, see a rustic labor dot, and cut you up with ready slight, trenching your gushing entrails bright like Oni ditch. And then, oh, what a glorious sight, warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they stutch and strive, to attack the hinmost on they drive, to all their will most height be live, are bit like drums. The all good man may like thrive, be thanked comes. Is there that o'er his French ragout or olio that would start a sewer fricassee would make her spew with perfect scholar, looks doon with sneering scornful eve on sick dinner. Poor devil see him o'er his trash, as feckless as a whip withered rash, his spindle shank a good whiplash his kneed in it, through bloody flood or field to dash. Oh, how unfit! But mark the rustic Haggis fed. The trembling earth resounds his tread, clap in his walling eve, a blade he'll make it whistle, and legs and arms and heads will stead like pass and bristle. Ye powers will make mankind their care and dish 'em out their bill of fare. All Scotland wants they skinking wear that jumps in luggies, but give you with your grateful prayer, gear the Haggis.
to offer the invitation. Pastor Bob was the pastor of Plymouth Congregational Church 10 years. He continues to be a teaching minister at First Presbyterian Church and has now led modern Bible studies, including the Wired Word and Hub Theology. Hub Theology, I love that. Please welcome Reverend Bob. Thank you.
It should be as no surprise that pub theology would be incorporated within Christian studies. Because after all, Jesus taught with wine at table fellowship. Megan reminded me, my wife Megan reminded me that the Showalters, the family at First Pres, are celebrating tonight with their children, their young children, and their haggis is
meatloaf.
So when Jesus gathered the crowds on the hills and the mountainside, he said words that are foreign to our tongue. Barakatu Adonai Eloheinu. Blessed are you, O Lord God, for all the good gifts that you have given to us. And so it is with Robert Burns that our grace before dinner starts something very similar. O thou who kindly dost provide for every creature's want, we bless thee, O God, God of nature wide, for all thy goodness lent. And
And if it please thee, heavenly guide, may never worse be sent, but whether granted or denied, Lord, bless us with content. Let us all say, Amen.
Back to drum! At the center! Quick march!
In training to work in Scotland, in Elgin, Aberdeen, Glasgow, and to the Troon on the Ayrshire coast, as well as the Marine Highland Hotel, where he achieved Master Craftsman level with the Craft Guild of Chefs. From there, he turned his culinary talents to teaching, first at the Glasgow College of Food Technology, then the Bahamas Hotel, Training College, and then in Grand Rapids Community College. He continues as a teacher, a restaurateur, and a TV producer, including the Emmy award-winning Cooking with Angus. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and the accompaniment.
A very good evening to you all and 100,000 welcomes. My name is Chef Angus Campbell and I come from the island of Lewis in the northwest coast of Scotland. I am a native Gaelic speaker and I was born and brought up on a small croft, which was very like the small farms that Burns would have worked and lived in. The country of Scotland is shrouded in mysteries, steeped in rich folklore, supernatural beliefs, and inexplicable oral histories. For example, how did the old man of Storr get there? And who used the fairy pose in Skye? Who built the unexplained Neolithic stone circles all over the country? There were 11 on my island alone, Cavendish being the largest. I well remember using the two biggest stones as goalposts while I played soccer as a young man. Stories abound in Scotland about mythical creatures, such as kelpies, who were shape-shifting water horses, the unicorn being our national animal, the brownies, who were small little house elves that helped to clean the house at night while you were sleeping, leaving a few cobwebs so you would know they had got the rest. Vanyania was a washerwoman, a female wraith who appears by the river, washing blood from the clothing, indicating that someone in the immediate area is about to pass away. That was a very scary one when I was young. All of these and many more stories were passed down to us young folk. Even the country itself, with its wild spine of steep and craggy mountains, rolling hills and chilly moors, and the way the fog or hard will roll in and coat the terrain, almost as if the country is trying to hide something mysterious. Added to all of these, the drone and the skirling of the pipes, the swishing tartans, the deep religious superstitions, and you have a land of great storytelling. Robert Burns loved stories, especially about the supernatural. They were regularly told to him when he was a young boy by an old widow who helped on his father's farm. And when he started writing poems, his imagination was burgeoning with great material. However, his first poem was actually to impress the girls. Written when he was 15 to impress a girl called Nellie. Oh, once I loved a bonny lass, and I love her still. This was the beginning of one of his all-time loves, the ladies. So who was he? Born 266 years ago today. Well, he was a tenant farmer most of his life, struggling against poor land, crippling debt and the death of his father. He moved restlessly between farming, flaxseed dressing, and even became an excise man. And he thought himself quite a connoisseur of the amber breed. Throughout these struggles, he became the farmer poet and eventually the Scottish bard. He was a tall, sinewy, muscular man, standing 5 feet 10 inches tall. He had a brief education, which his father and some neighbouring families paid a tutor to come to the village and educate the children. Then he had 1 year of official schooling. He was a very proud Scot and spent many years collecting and preserving traditional songs for the future. He was never called Robbie, he was called Robert or Rob, and that's how he usually signed his songs and poems. He would have never worn a kilt, unlikely as that may seem. This was due to the Act of Proscription in 1746, which made wearing tartan on the kilt illegal in Scotland. Failure to obey was punishable by deportation to the colonies. He would have worn shepherd's breeches and a black long-tailed coat. On his head, he would have worn the flat Scottish bonnet with a pom-pom on the top called a tammy. The tammy would eventually be called the Tam O'Shanter, after a famous character in one of his greatest poems. In the poem, Tam, a poor farmhand, and one night, to avoid his domestic woes, he calls into the pub on the Sabbath. On his way home, after quite a few drams, he comes across a coven of witches cavorting with the devil in the Alloway Kirk, which is still there, by the way. Unfortunately, he makes himself known, and they chase him on his trusty horse Neg, catching him on the old brig, or Brigadoon, where they singed his horse's tail. They were that close to him. Luckily for Tam, witches cannot travel over running water, so he escapes to face the vengeance of his wife. I sometimes feel Burns sees himself in town, reckless and free, with plenty of domestic woes. Burns' diet would have consisted of what they produced on the land, including potatoes, barley and oats. Seasonal fish, local lamb would have been a treat. They slaughtered animals seasonally, for special occasions, or as a last resort. The entire animal was utilized, hence the creation of this. Most of the other cuts were utilized in one-pot starchy meals. Cured and preserved meats and fish were popular and were eaten with barley and rye breads. This is the one I like. Beer was the preferred drink of choice for everybody, including children. And it was drunk with all meals. The water was not always safe to drink. Haggis would have been a seasonal meal that was considered a bit of a special delicacy because of its complex list of ingredients and its special seasoning. It would have been very unusual at that time. Like most specialty sausages, the recipe would vary from village to village, depending on the availability of ingredients and if they could measure correctly. Having made hundreds of them, I can attest to the difficulty and skill required to make a good one. Burns came along at a very turbulent time in history. He was born just 50 years after Scotland had somewhat unwillingly merged with England. 30 years after Flora MacDonald took a boat with Bonnie Prince Charlie over the sea to Skye, as we heard the song. After the Jacobite Rebellion and the Battle of Culloden. It was the age of enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, and the Agrarian Revolution was in its height. This is actually when the turnip, or neep, was introduced to Scotland from the Netherlands and became the accompaniment to haggis. The American Revolution happened when he was in his 20s, and the French Revolution happened when he was in his 30s. He actually bought cannons at one point and sent them to the revolutionaries in France. He was such an absolute radical. He was a person who always wanted to help the underdog. During the transition of the merger of Scotland and England, the English felt the need to try to bring the Scots to heel. Good luck with that. By banning culture, traditions, and languages. Burns was one of the many freethinkers and reformers that tried to bring back these traditions, giving the country a sense of national pride and identity. This is why during this time he was beloved by the nation. All these influences affect his lifestyle and work, his poetry and his songs, always fighting for the underprivileged and the downtrodden. He was a friend to the common man. This would lead to him writing 716 poems and songs in his all-too-brief life. A remarkable achievement for a farm boy, making him a rock star in his time. Burns' ability to put himself in the shoes of those from all walks of life is what makes his work so inspiring and relatable to such a large audience. Being a champion for the poor and underprivileged is a common theme in his works. This, I believe, is the hidden meaning of the poem we just heard expertly said, recited over the haggis. This poem, addressed to the haggis, celebrates the seemingly humble dish raised to new heights, as he compares it with dishes of the French cuisine like the fricassee or the ragout. And when you put three dishes on the same table for a tasting, it's surprising how much better haggis actually is. He calls it great chieftain of the pudding race, ranking it amongst the best dishes ever made from such meager ingredients. However, this poem, I believe, in his heart, celebrates the strength and ingenuity of the ordinary working Scots people in the 1700s who created such an amazing culinary masterpiece. With the cast-off parts of the animal, he celebrates the haggis for its delicious flavor, but celebrates its creators as well. Burns most famous poem, I think, Auld Lang Syne, which was put to music 10 years after he wrote it and 40 years after he had passed. So in fact, the actual version that we will sing tonight after I talk, he had never actually heard, even although it is one of the most recognized songs in the world. It begins with Burns challenging us with a question. Should all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? I answer him, no, all acquaintances should never be forgotten. In fact, tonight I bring to mind my dear friend Terry Carroll, and it's an important night to have him brought to mind, as he was a huge part of this event and its people. I remember his amazing sense of fun and mischief. He was kind and helpful to me always, and we enjoyed calling each other and chatting about our shared culture. I was attending the Home and Garden Show in Lansing at the MSU Pavilion to start the road here. One day I was doing a cooking demonstration for the public and had started one of the scallop dishes and was in full flow. I had a larger audience than normal, and they were enthusiastically engaged in my demo. All of a sudden, a tall gentleman dressed in full Highland regalia appeared beside my stage and gave a blasting rendition of Scotland the Brave. The crowd were astonished, and I was immediately drowned out by the skirling of the pipes. This was Terry Carroll. He promptly finished, dashed away, leaving us all in shock. As he left, the audience stood and applauded as they should have, but he was gone. It took all my powers of persuasion to assure the audience that this was not something that happened at every demo. The whole show almost came to a standstill as people rushed from all directions to see what disruption was about. Timmy told me later that he had read I was on stage, and he thought that he would serenade me. And he thought it was hilarious. What a guy. I must say, it was a fabulous occasion and an undying memory. Next, Burns challenges us again. Take a cup of kindness, and we should drink a few drams tonight in Terry's memory. True legend in his time, and he will never be forgotten. Hús Rachel lá, agus yet the scarlet Torisha. Until the day breaks and the shadows flee away, Terry. Songs of Solomon 4:6. These sentiments make sense when the title of the Burns song is translated from For Auld Lang Syne to For Old Time's Sake, or For the Olden Days That Have Passed Us By. Sadly, Burns lived a short life. His health failed him and he died at 37 years, but his memory will endure forever. So ladies and gentlemen, to another legend of its time, now and into the future, I ask you to arise and remain arisen to toast the immortal memory of Robert Burns. Robert Burns. If you would look now at your program, you will see two verses, remain standing please, of Auld Lang Syne. I cannot sing, but I've been asked to sing the first line, so I'm going to say it. So if you would like to hold your programs and sing the two verses that are on the back of it, and the pipes will start now.
encouraged. So, what do we have? All right. Let's stick it up with us. We are licensed by the state of Michigan to hold this raffle. We never used to do it manually. Who's back there? Work it out. Make sure we shoot another one for me. This is a raffle barrel. Stephen, are you going to draw? Our youngest drummer, Tegan, is going to, and she's honest as the day is long, so she's going to do the job. By the way, I was really pleased that your aunt is talking about Terry Kellogg. Terry Kellogg is the reason that I'm in this band. 30-some years ago, my wife and I were about to get married. We got married in Francis Park here in Lansing. Outside, we wanted a bagpiper. And a few months prior to a few months prior to our wedding, we were at the old city market, and there was a bagpiper walking through, which I thought was pretty cool. So I asked the market, who is that guy that's the piper? And he said, that's Terry Kellogg. So we went out and we met him, and he played at our wedding. And years later, we were down market after the final game. My wife and this whole band was playing up there. It was a miserable day. It was rainy and it was awful. Of course, the band was in the beer tent. And there was Terry Kellogg, surrounded by members of Glen Erin. They introduced me to my camera. I showed him what I could do with my sticks. The rest is history. For those who love to walk, we got a bottle of Johnny Walker. Marks his ass. Green ticket. 30069. 30069. This is from Kelly's downtown, the after practice home of Glen Erin Pipe Band. This is a once-in-a-lifetime offer. We give you 2 koozies with our pipe band logo on it and a notepad with the Scottish Grand Lion. They can't all be modeled in Scottish. Green ticket 301-735. 301-735. All right, the person who won the Studio Performing Arts Center gift certificate is unable to use it. They're donating it back. And this is now a 183-894 on a white ticket. 183-894 white ticket. White ticket. All right, let's try another one. $300,909 on a green ticket. 300,909 on a white ticket. Sorry, a green ticket.